Hey everyone, ready to dive into the world of warehouse management. We're taking a deep dive into how to absolutely crush those interview questions.
We'll really dig into what interviewers are looking for and how to showcase your skills in a way that makes you stand out.
Because it's a competitive job market out there.
So let's jump right in with a question that seems to pop up in almost every warehouse manager interview. Tell us about your experience in warehouse management. Like, how do you even begin to answer that?
Well, it's a classic for a reason. It gives the interviewer a quick snapshot of your background, right?
Yep.
They want to see, do you understand how a warehouse works? Have you got what it takes to handle the job?
Right, they're trying to size you up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's your chance to show them you're not just a list of jobs on a resume. It's about showcasing those leadership qualities, even if you haven't had a formal management role before. Oh, I've totally been there. I remember interviewing for a team lead position once, and I spent like 5 minutes rambling about my inventory software skills. I completely forgot to mention, the time I basically ran the whole warehouse floor during a power outage.
It's so easy to get caught up in the technical stuff and, forget about those soft skills that are just as important, maybe even more important.
So how do you avoid that trap?
It's all about how you frame your experience. Like, imagine you said, yeah, I'm proficient in that software, but I also led a team through a major system upgrade while maintaining 99% order accuracy. See how that subtly shows leadership.
Yeah. It's like, oh, and by the way, I can handle a crisis too, not just, scan barcodes really fast.
Right, you're painting a picture. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI can be super helpful.
Oh, yeah, their tools are great.
It analyzes those job descriptions to see what skills employers really want and helps you rephrase your experiences to really make them pop.
It's like having a career coach in your pocket. But let's get back to that experience question. What if you're newer to warehouse management and don't have years of direct experience to draw on?
That's where those transferable skills come in. Think about it. Have you ever managed projects, led a team, even if it wasn't in a traditional workplace? Maybe you organized a volunteer event or even planned a killer fundraiser. Those all demonstrate leadership, right? It's just about connecting the dots for the interviewer.
So instead of just listing software, you'd say something like, I might be new to warehouse management, but my experience coordinating large-scale events has given me the skills to excel in this role.
Now you're talking. You've highlighted relevant skills, shown you can think on your feet. That's what they want to see.
Okay, so we've talked about framing our experience, but what about actual achievements? How do you talk about your wins without sounding, braggy?
It's about showcasing the impact. Did you implement a new system? Did you reduce errors or improve efficiency? And here's the key. Quantify it. Don't just say you improved inventory accuracy. Tell them, I spearheaded a new system that reduced discrepancies by 15%. Numbers are powerful.
They paint that picture of success.
Exactly.
And RoleCatcher's video practice feature can help you, actually deliver those accomplishments with confidence. They analyze your body language and tone so you don't come across, too over the top.
Finding that balance is important.
Definitely. So we've covered experience, but let's move on to another big one. Inventory accuracy. I mean, that's the heart and soul of the warehouse.
Absolutely. And that's why you're almost guaranteed to get a question like, how do you ensure that warehouse inventory is accurate and up to date? It's crucial.
Yeah, one wrong number, and it's like a domino effect of disasters.
You've got it. Inaccurate inventory can lead to lost revenue, wasted resources, and some very unhappy customers. It's all connected.
So how do you knock this question out of the park?
First and foremost, show them you understand the importance of inventory management techniques. Don't just say you're familiar with barcoding. Briefly explain how it helps with real-time tracking. Talk about how RFID minimizes errors compared to other methods.
Go deeper.
Yes. Show them you're not just repeating buzzwords. You really understand how it all works.
And hey, if you need a refresher, RoleCatcher breaks down all those inventory management techniques in their knowledge base.
Absolutely. It's a great resource. But theoretical knowledge is just one part of it. Interviewers also want to hear about your experience.
Right. Bring it to life with some real-world examples.
Exactly. So instead of just saying, I'm familiar with cycle counting, you could say, in my previous role, I implemented a cycle counting program that reduced discrepancies by 10% and saved the company thousands. See the difference?
Yeah, you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk.
Right.
So, listeners, think about your own experiences. Have you used any inventory management software? What were some wins? Even if it wasn't specifically in a warehouse, how did you ensure accuracy in your past roles? These are all great talking points.
Those real-world examples make all the difference.
Okay, so we've tackled experience and inventory accuracy. What other questions should our listeners be ready for?
Let's talk safety. It might not be the most exciting topic, but it's a big deal in warehouse environments.
Yeah, those safety posters on the wall, they're there for a reason, right?
Exactly. And you know interviewers are going to want to know that you take safety seriously.
So how should we prepare for a question about safety regulations? Should we be ready to, like, recite OSHA guidelines from memory?
Knowing the guidelines is important, don't get me wrong, but it's more about how you apply them, you know what I mean? Like, if they ask, how do you ensure warehouse operations comply with safety regulations? Don't just give them a list.
Right, they want to know you'll actually enforce them, not just that you can memorize them.
Yeah, think about concrete actions. So instead of saying, forklifts need to be inspected daily, you could say, I'd implement a daily checklist system for forklift operators, checking tire pressure, fluid levels, looking for any damage.
It shows you're proactive. You're not waiting for something bad to happen.
Exactly. And it's not just about big equipment either. Think about other protocols you've implemented or been a part of, even if it's something like making sure safety signage is visible and up to date. It all adds up.
Okay, that makes sense. But what if I'm, like, relatively new to this and haven't had a chance to really implement those kinds of things myself yet?
That's okay. Draw on your experiences as a team member. What did you observe? What impressed you? Maybe you could say, in my previous role, I was really impressed with how seriously they took safety training. I believe that regular hands-on training is crucial for preventing accidents.
Turn those observations into actions. I like it. Okay, so we've talked about experience, inventory, and safety. Now, I'm guessing interviewers also want to know how you handle the people side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to get questions about managing and motivating a team for sure. It's a huge part of being a warehouse manager.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
You could have the most efficient systems in the world, but without a good team, it's not going to mean much.
Couldn't agree more. This is where your leadership skills really come into play. Think back to a time when you had to rally a team to meet a deadline or overcome a challenge. What was your approach?
Ooh, I've got a good one. One time, my team had to hit this insane deadline for a huge client. We were all exhausted, but we blasted music, ordered pizza, and just powered through it.
That's great that you were able to create that energy and camaraderie, but in an interview setting, you might want to focus more on the transferable skills,
Like staying calm under pressure, being a good communicator, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So instead of the pizza party, you could say, I believe in fostering a positive team environment and leading by example. During a challenging project, I made sure to communicate clearly with my team, celebrate small wins, and work alongside them to get the job done.
It shows you're in the trenches with them, not just, bossing them around. But motivation isn't always one size fits all, is it?
Definitely not. What motivates one person might not do anything for another. That's why it's important to be able to recognize individual needs and adjust your approach accordingly. Don't be afraid to mention specific motivational strategies you've used.
Give me some examples. Like what kinds of strategies?
Well, for some people, it's public recognition, like a company-wide shout-out. For others, it might be opportunities for professional development, like training courses or the chance to shadow more experienced team members. Even something as simple as creating a clear career path within the warehouse can be really motivating.
Showing your team that there's room for growth.
Yeah.
And hey, speaking of career paths, RoleCatcher actually has some really great insights into typical career paths for warehouse management. They break down those different stages, from starting out as a warehouse associate all the way up to senior management.
It can be a really helpful tool, not just for yourself, but also for answering this question in an interview. You can use that knowledge to paint a picture for potential candidates, show them you're invested in their growth. Like you could say, I'm committed to providing my team with opportunities for skill development and helping them move up in the company.
It's a win-win.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about managing people. Now let's talk about managing time, which I'm guessing is pretty crucial in a fast-paced environment like a warehouse.
Oh, absolutely. Time management is key. They're going to ask you something like, how do you prioritize tasks and manage your time effectively, especially in a busy warehouse setting?
So should I come in with a color-coded calendar and a whole slideshow on my time management system?
You don't have to go that overboard, but it's good to have a system for sure.
Yeah.
And be able to articulate it clearly. Maybe you're a fan of the Eisenhower matrix, prioritizing by urgency and importance. Or maybe you're all about time blocking, scheduling out specific chunks of time for different tasks.
I'm a big fan of to-do lists myself. There's just something so satisfying about crossing things off as you go.
Whatever your method is, be prepared to give a concrete example of how it's helped you succeed. Like you could say, I prioritize tasks based on their impact on our key performance indicators. In my last role, this approach helped us meet our deadlines and keep customers happy, even during our busiest season.
Show, don't tell. Love it.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of challenging situations, I'm guessing conflict resolution is another important skill for warehouse managers. It can't be all smooth sailing all the time, can it?
No, definitely not. There are always going to be disagreements and misunderstandings, whether it's between team members or with customers or even other departments. How you handle those conflicts is really important.
So how should we prepare for a question about conflict resolution?
Start by thinking about your own experiences. Have you ever had to mediate a disagreement between team members, address a customer complaint, deal with a miscommunication that was causing problems?
Oh, I have a story about that. It involved a missing shipment, a very upset client, and a whole lot of phone calls. But I managed to track down the missing order and save the day.
That's awesome that you were able to resolve it, but remember, in an interview, you want to focus on the takeaway for them. What skills did you use? So instead of telling the whole story, you might say something like, I'm a big believer in open communication. When there's a conflict, I make sure to listen to everyone involved, figure out the root of the problem, and then work collaboratively to find a solution that works for everyone.
Highlight those key skills. But what if, I haven't had to deal with a major warehouse crisis yet in my career? Can I still answer this question effectively?
Of course. Think about conflicts you've handled in other areas of your life. Maybe it was with a roommate or a classmate, or even just dealing with a difficult customer in a part-time job. Those are all valid experiences.
So even something that seems small, like dealing with a difficult customer service situation, can actually provide some really valuable experience.
Absolutely. It all comes down to showing you can stay calm, listen actively, and find solutions that work for everyone involved. Those are transferable skills.
That makes me feel better. Okay, so we've talked about experience, inventory, safety, team management, time management, and conflict resolution. Are we forgetting anything?
We've covered a lot, but there's one more thing that's super important for warehouse managers: staying up to date.
Because the world of warehouses isn't exactly standing still,
Yeah.
right? New technology is popping up all the time.
Exactly. And interviewers want to know that you're not stuck in the past, that you're actively trying to learn and grow. So think about how you stay current. Do you read industry publications, attend webinars? Maybe you're part of some online forums or professional groups.
I actually listen to a lot of podcasts. Is that a little too nerdy to mention?
Not at all. It shows that you're engaged and you're interested in learning. The key is to be specific. Don't just say, I read industry blogs. Mention a specific blog or publication that you find valuable.
Okay, so like, I'm a regular listener of the Deep Dive.
Perfect. It shows you're plugged in and you're serious about staying ahead of the curve. And, RoleCatcher can be a great resource for this, too.
Oh, yeah, they have a whole section for industry news and resources, right?
They do. Articles, organizations, online courses, it's all right there.
It's like a one-stop shop for your career development.
Okay.
Okay, so speaking of development, let's talk about something that's definitely on every interviewer's mind: cost effectiveness. Because at the end of the day, a warehouse needs to be profitable, right?
Exactly. They need to know that you understand that you can make decisions that are good for the company's bottom line.
So how do we answer that question about ensuring that warehouse operations are cost-effective and efficient?
Think of it like this. You need to show them you can reduce costs and improve efficiency.
So it's a two-pronged approach. I like that. Where do we start?
Well, on the cost side, you've got to show them you're thinking about the bigger picture.
Right.
Like every dollar counts.
Yeah, like maybe negotiating better rates with suppliers. Everyone loves a discount, right?
Exactly. Or maybe you can optimize those inventory levels to reduce waste. Cut down on storage costs, or even looking at those energy saving measures.
Oh, that's smart. Lower those utility bills.
Right. There are so many ways to think about it. Maybe even exploring some automation options to streamline things.
It's about being creative, thinking outside the box.
Exactly.
But it's not just about, cutting costs, is it? You've got to make sure things are running smoothly, efficiently.
That's the other half of it, for sure. This is where you get to highlight your ability to identify bottlenecks, streamline those processes, really maximize productivity.
Yeah, make the whole operation run like a well-oiled machine.
Right. Maybe you could talk about implementing a more efficient way to pick and pack orders, or using data analysis to find areas for improvement.
Data is everything these days.
It really is.
And this is another area where RoleCatcher really shines. Their AI analyzes job descriptions, so you can figure out exactly what keywords to use when you're talking about cost effectiveness and efficiency.
It's like having a leg up on the competition. And don't forget their video practice feature. That way you can make sure you're not just, saying the right words, but you're delivering them with confidence.
It's all about that delivery.
It makes a difference.
Okay, so let's recap. We've covered a ton of ground today, from showcasing your experience and those all-important leadership skills to navigating those tricky questions about safety, team management, time management, conflict resolution.
We even talked about staying up to date on industry trends and, of course, that all-important cost effectiveness.
It's a lot to remember, but the main takeaway here is to, be prepared. Take the time to really think about your experiences, those accomplishments, and practice, practice, practice those answers.
RoleCatcher can be a huge help with that. Their career guides break down those typical career paths and, the skills that you need at each level, which can be super helpful for those curveball questions.
It's like having a secret weapon. So to wrap things up, I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today. We've talked about how to ace those warehouse manager interview questions, explored some potential career paths, and of course, we've talked about how RoleCatcher can be an amazing resource throughout your entire job search journey.
And remember, the best way to predict your future is to create it, right? Go out there and get that dream job.
We're rooting for you. That's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us, everyone.